When the movie first came out, we didn't know, we didn't know. We thought it would do all right because there were projections and whatnot, but it wasn't until we went out opening night and saw the crowds and started to see the numbers coming in from all around the country that people were embracing the film. They liked it. The notices had been good, which was always nice. You don't always expect good reviews from a film like this. And between that and the response of the crowds and people saying that they were seeing it time and time again, it was great. And we got to actually go and feel some of that energy in the room. We would go to the theaters. We would even intro the show sometimes and surprise people. And we knew that, well, first of all, we knew Robert was now back as a movie star, which was exciting because this was a bit of an odyssey for him, getting back into a position where he could actually make movies like this and surpass what he used to be before he hit his rough patch there. And then for me, it just allowed me to be considered a director of a whole new type of movie, not just comedies or the smaller independent films, but this opened me up a great deal. So this was a big turning point, and we knew that we probably would end up doing another one together. We put a lot of energy and effort into making the film something that lives up to what we hope people have come to expect after seeing the first one, but yet doing it in an unexpected way. We added some new cast members. We have a much stronger villain storyline, as sequels to superhero movies often do. And we got a great cast that we added, Mickey Rourke, Don Cheadle, Scarlett Johansson, and of course, as Nick Fury now, Sam Jackson is actually part of the main film, not just after the credit bonus Easter egg scene. And so all of this informs the reality of the world, and that world then expands to other Marvel films like Thor coming out next year, and Captain America, and then later Avengers, and then maybe after that Iron Man 3. So there's a lot of responsibility on this movie, but first and foremost, the responsibility is to the audience that likes the first film. I really hope that they like what we did here. I do. I'm really happy with the way it came out, but we're definitely doing a lot of non-standard things. We're not going the obvious route with the sequel, and I hope that our audience appreciates that. The basic story of Iron Man 2 is we pick up 6 months after the first film leaves off. The last moment of the film was him saying, "I am Iron Man," so he's declaring his identity, which opens up a whole new set of opportunities and problems for us as filmmakers, and for Tony for that matter, because now he went from being one of the most famous guys in the world to, probably one of the most famous people in history. He's a superhero and a billionaire and a genius and a futurist and a scientist, and somebody who's occupies a very important position at the nexus of world politics and the economy at this very trying time in our history. And his appearance on the scene as Iron Man has provided peace around the world. He served to stabilize everything just by his mere presence. And now the world is changing for the good, and hopefully he's delivering on the promise, after saying he wasn't making weapons anymore, to use his resources to make improvements in the world. That's where we find him at the beginning of the film. What he doesn't count on is Mickey Rourke popping out of the shadows, and he's also somebody who has a similar background to Tony, although his father was a scientist during the Cold War, who had been isolated. Well, Whiplash is a villain from the comic books. He's not very impressive in the comics at all. He looks like he's in spandex or lycra bodysuit. I think he wears purple. He has a big plume coming out of his head, big feather. And I don't know what was the inspiration. I think they were running out of ideas. But the idea of a character that uses whips was interesting. And then there's Ivan Vanko, who's the name that we use for Whiplash, who's really the Crimson Dynamo, the name of the person one of the people who was in the Crimson Dynamo suit, which was, during the Cold War, the Soviet version of Iron Man. There was, Crimson Dynamo, Titanium Man. There were a lot of suits running around. Times have changed, and we wanted to make the story reflect our times more, and I wanted to preserve the Russian heritage of our villain, but a Cold War military villain did not seem appropriate. And so the idea of Mickey Rourke as this ex-con with prison tattoos and an underworld figure from that part of the world was really exciting. And that his father may have been part of a scientific program and had known Howard Stark, Tony's father, and felt betrayed by him, felt like a good way to create a really good motivation for this villain to crawl out of the woodwork and go after Tony. Scarlett Johansson's a great actress and really came after this role very hard. I respect her work in the independent films. I didn't really see her as an action hero, but she assured me, and she lived up to that assurance that she was going to train really hard, get ready for the role. She really wanted to do a movie like this, and she liked the first one a lot. And what's nice about this franchise is that it's for people who like big movies, but they know that, at least for actors, they know that as a filmmaker, I really care about what they do, and I want to showcase the talents of the performers and make a movie that they could be proud of as actors, and they're not just window dressing for all the special effects. And so we explored what this character would be. She has two aspects to herself, and opens up the door to, as being Black Widow, to the Avengers later. The central relationship from the first film was Pepper Potts and Tony Stark. We wanted to explore that further. One of the reasons we added Scarlett Johansson to that was to disrupt that dynamic, because there's a little bit of a moonlighting thing going on there. There's clearly a lot of passion between the two of them, a bit of unrequited affection that they both feel for one another, and either because of their own emotional shortcomings, or the taboo of working with somebody that you're involved with intimately, they never fulfill and consummate that relationship. And so that tension was the basis for the first movie in a lot of ways, and in this one it's expanded even further. And so playing with the closeness and distance between those two characters was really compelling for me. Yeah, it's great to have a pantheon of heroes and suits and technology. Our in was always technology. We never, I know with Thor they're exploring the supernatural and things like that, but in the world of Iron Man so far it's always been the real world with the technology exaggerated a bit. And War Machine is the personification of the exaggeration of technology. We put every weapon that we can fit on the suit on the suit. It is verging on the ridiculous, but how to make something that ridiculous look real, and him side by side. It seems like such a graphic combination. It's you got the 49ers and the Oakland Raiders next to each other there, and everybody has a favorite, one or the other. Some people just like the raw, unpolished energy of War Machine, and in the way we animated him was much rougher and a little less with less finesse. And then you have Iron Man, and Iron Man is much sleeker. We've sleekened the design of the suit, added more weapons, and even his fighting style has become sleeker, because figuring he's really gotten good at the suit. And so you have two different styles of fighting and two different styles of weapons. So that's exciting for the fanboy in me.